Well, hello, 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 hello.
Hola.
Hello. Nice. What's up, guys? Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Almost Patriots, episode 11, Drone Mania and the Fed cuts interest rates. So I got, as usual, per usual, in Indianapolis, my man Elvis. Go Hoosiers. And in New York, we have Bill Burr. I mean, Mike. Mike, no last middle initial.
I am going to
Shave? You're going to shave?
use violence next time I see you.
You do. You need a big gold chain and like a salami sandwich to go with
No,
whatever
I
you're
don't.
wearing right now.
I got my cross. That's all I need. All right. I
JC.
don't need a gold chain.
That's a good one.
I'm a
JC.
professional. All right. I'm a professional. I'm not a character on Goodfellas or
You're-
Godfather or any
You're a
of those other
professional
movies.
mob boss. You're a mob
Shut the
boss.
fuck. Shut the hell up.
You could say fuck. It doesn't matter. How's everybody doing out there? How is it in New York? Is it cold?
It is actually today was a little bit warmer than it's been, but it's been raining like crazy lately, and the wind has been out of control. Out of control.
Oh, the wind makes it worse. Makes it so much
Yeah.
worse.
How about you in San Diego?
It's been a little chilly. It's been
Fuck you.
in the low 50s, and
Oh
I
God.
really haven't enjoyed it. The other night I had to sleep with my. I got some really cool blue bear pants from Meyer at near Chris's house when I was in Indianapolis. They're like $10, but they're made of that like super comfy material that is definitely not good for you and probably was invented by some scientist, but it's really comfortable.
Yeah,
And
once you wash it, it'll just dissolve.
right,
Yeah,
it
it gets
destroys
destroyed.
absolutely, it destroys everything. But it was comfortable. I had to sleep with those, so that was a rough one out for us out here. Yeah,
I feel for you. I really do.
you should.
I'm sorry to hear that. I feel your pain. How about you, Chris, in Indianapolis?
It's definitely getting cold. Today was the first sunny day in a while, but it's still in the 30s. So it's supposed to snow this weekend. So we'll see what happens.
Gotcha. Yeah. Ricardo's the only one with sun and 50 degree, 60-degree weather and beaches. God, he's living a horrible life over there.
It's pretty cool.
I mean, we did move away, Mike. So
Yeah, that's a good point. We did live in San Diego
We
at
did-
some
we
point.
did move
We did
away,
experience
so-
it.
There's some Christmas music for you guys.
as much as we want to bust Ricardo's balls,
Yep.
There we go, guys.
Yeah.
Nice and Christmassy. Very cool, guys. So we got a bunch of cool stuff to talk about today. So we can get started whenever. One of the big topics I think that's been going on at least this week, at least social media, and actually now making some of the national news too, is all these drone sightings. I guess they're calling them drones now, instead of whatever else unidentified, flying things. But most of these drone sightings have come, on the eastern seaboard, over by you, Mike. Mostly
Yep.
New York and New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and a lot of the local lawmakers are actually asking questions. Have been communicating with the FBI here. You see it all over Twitter. And then I guess on Monday, the Department of Homeland Security and the FBI they gave a statement basically saying that they haven't identified anything anomalous, and they think the assessment to the activity is that it's not present a national security threat or public safety threat. So apparently these drones are all just kind of hanging out in the drone sphere all at night, and but I know that, Chris, you have an aviation background a little bit, where you've tried to jump off every house you've lived at's roof. So I think that
at least once.
at least once in each one.
Yep.
So I know that about these types of things, and plus your occupation. And I think, but today, we did get a statement. I think not today, or a couple days ago, from President Bush. I mean, President
Bush.
President-elect
Wow, President Bush is around?
Trump. Man, I was ready for that. I guess I was a Freudian slip.
Yeah.
From President-elect Trump, and he had some of his own opinions on kind of what's going on. Let's take a listen.
Can you comment on the drones that are flying around New Jersey ports? It seems like the American people have a big disconnect.
The government knows what is happening. Look, our military knows where they took off from. If it's a garage, they can go right into that garage. They know where it came from and where it went. And for some reason, they don't want to comment. And I think they'd be better off saying what it is. Our military knows and our president knows. And for some reason, they want to keep people in suspense. I can't imagine it's the enemy, because if it was the enemy, they'd blast it out. Even if they were late, they'd blast it. Something strange is going on. For some reason, they don't want to tell the people, and they should, because the people are really, they happen to be over Bedminster.
Will you
Want to
shoot
know
them
the
down?
truth.
What?
They're very,
Will you shoot them down?
they're very close to Bedminster. I think maybe I won't spend the weekend in Bedminster.
I've
decided to cancel my trip.
Have you received an intelligence briefing on the drones?
I don't want to comment on that.
So yeah, that's a really good opinion there. He thinks that the U.S. government knows exactly what's going on, and that they just don't want to tell the public. Man, what do you guys think?
Chris, with your aviation background, why don't you go first? Because I'm going to ask some follow-up questions to you about this.
Well, first of all, it's the best thing that's happened in New Jersey since Snooki got punched. So, shout out to New Jersey.
Bro,
Jersey Shore.
it probably
You just
took him,
took shots at the
it probably
Jersey
took
Shore.
him 3 days to write that. I'm just telling you.
He was working on that delivery. I know him too well now. He was working on the delivery.
Doing like sets at the gym, like, what can I get
Hey,
with
man.
Snooki?
Yeah.
All right. Like I said before, I'm not surprised. I mean, I'm sure there's like some, if it was a military exercise, it wouldn't be surprised if, in the planning meeting, nobody thought about the public, potentially seeing it or whatever. And now they're like, oh crap, what do we do? I don't know. But what Trump is saying, it sounds like maybe there's some civilian guy creating drones in his garage I mean, just makes you
That-
laugh.
I mean,
Sorry.
I don't think that's true. I mean, but I mean, like, so the military thing is interesting. Like, for a little while, there was a rumor going around that they were like doing some sort of like investigating or scanning. You know what I mean? It was really
You talking
close
about the
to,
nuclear scanning for nuclear?
yeah, I
like,
mean, and then they're like, oh, by the way, we had this delivery that had some subway in it and also some nuclear material, and we lost it, and we forgot to tell you guys, and we forgot to tell Subway also.
Well, coming from the East Coast, being on the East Coast right now, especially, I'm going to New Jersey, exactly where this is happening on Saturday. So I've talked to a
as
couple
you
of my
should,
friends.
as you
Got a date
should.
with Snooki.
Yeah,
as you should.
yeah, I'm going to see Snooki.
Go
No,
visit
so-
your children.
So the unique I'm gonna punch you. The unique thing about this is I know how people actually firsthand from Jersey. Like, I can tell you in the area where I live, it's being talked about a lot more, and the conspiracy theories are being ran. Like, everybody has a new theory. Oh, it's a nuclear warhead they're trying to find. Oh, it's aliens. Oh, it's just a guy in a garage. So a couple of things. One is there's been some reports that these drones actually have reached all the way to Ohio. Now, I haven't been able to confirm that it's the same drones that have been flying around Jersey, but there's been reports about that. The second thing is also that it's coming from the ocean. That's the consensus. It's coming from the waterways. Now, my question to Chris now is, obviously military drones are completely different than civilian drones, right? Civilian drones, I feel like, where you could go to like a Walmart or a Target, you could buy those drones. Now, aren't there like restrictions to that, like the way that you're able to fly them, the distances that you can fly them, and kind of the capabilities of them? Isn't that correct? Or like, are they similar to the drones that the military and corporations have?
Well, the airspace is restricted for that kind of stuff, depending on where you live. Like, obviously, if you live near the airport, there's more restrictions. But all of those things aren't supposed to fly into like
Restricted.
airspace, like trafficked airspace. But there's nothing that there's no rules that say you can't take a Cessna and fly it around as long as you don't fly into certain airspace. So like we have this problem all the time in the military where we fly around in monitored airspace near the airport where we're up under a tower, getting our, vectors. And we'll see some Cessna flying around and it's some jackhole that's, flying around San Diego. And they can see him on radar, but he's not talking to anybody because there's nothing preventing him as long as he doesn't, breach any of the specific airspace altitudes around the airport. And so we have to constantly watch out for those clowns. So drones are like the size of a book. I mean, you could fly that thing around. Nobody.
No, but they're saying that some of these drones are pretty large in size. Or
Yeah,
I think
big
it's
as big as some cars.
right.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
my
it's
question,
hard
my
to-
question to you is: so the like the commercial sold drones, like for example, like when you go to the not the Walgreens, the Targets and WalMarts, and you're
Got
when
drones at
you're-
Walgreens.
Yeah, I think they have the small ones.
Or Amazon, or
Yeah,
anything like
but
that.
those drones, do they have like typically a range that they can go, like how far they can go?
Oh
And-
yeah. Well, it's like they're however far the radar will pick it up. I mean, how far your controller will connect to it. Some of them are pretty impressive, but like, I mean, I'm pretty sure if you flew that thing a mile away, it would just disconnect.
Okay. So the second question I have is to kind of debunk some things. Like, so if you have a commercial like drone, for example, and these commercial drones obviously have cameras on them, is it more of like a surveillance kind of, in your opinion, do you think this is more of like a surveillance thing where you're flying over certain locations and taking like videos, photographs, you're trying to gather intel? Or do you think they're carrying something where they're delivering something of that magnitude? Because I know there's a army base over there that they've said that they've found several drones that have been delivering drugs. So,
Yeah.
in your opinion, do you
Subway
think
sandwiches.
yeah, Subway sandwiches, you're delivering Subway sandwiches. Yeah.
Well, currently there are no car-sized drones in commercial use
That
or
you know of, that we
or-
know of, that we know
or-
of.
no, I'm saying commercial
Oh,
use. There's
okay.
Yeah.
no commercial use. The government doesn't have any. I know all the contracts that are being bid for those things, and none of them have come to fruition yet. But I mean, there are prototypes. I would imagine though that any of those prototypes were missing, people would know about it. But there are car-sized drones that have vertical takeoff capability that exist. But all the military stuff is not vertical takeoff. All the military stuff is like you need a landing strip, you need like a runway. So if it's something that the military has that isn't publicly known, then I would imagine they're using it for something. I mean, surveillance or looking for something, or maybe they're just testing it. I mean,
So
because
is it common? Is it common though for drones or just in general to travel in packs? Like for example, if you're, let's say for example, you're an adversary or
They're
you're
not
doing
fucking
like
birds, man. They don't like hang out near the
No, the drones
water
are,
fountain.
yeah, but the drones are traveling in packs. That's the issue right now, and that's one of the things because there's typically six
You're
of them
being
at a time.
racist.
Well,
Yeah.
so there is technology out there. I forget the name of the company. There's a technology that's because this is a popular thing in farming right now. Is doing using drones to survey your field and also spray like pesticides. And so then they've developed software to deconflict all the drones flying around like a field.
Gotcha.
So I'd imagine that if this was like some sort of test where you're trying to see if you can fly like 4 drones in a formation flight without them, having midair collisions. Again, I know of no such thing that exists currently. Not that I have like super secret clearance or anything. So if it does exist, then I would imagine that's only prototypes or only experimental tests or something. So
Gotcha. So in your opinion, what do you think it is overall? Like last week we talked about it, but there's more information that came out. I know Ricardo thinks it's aliens. He's been saying it since day one.
I'll give my
They're
opinion
coming
when it's
they're
my
coming to
turn.
abduct him.
Thank you, alien Bill Burr.
I mean, here's the thing, right? If it was just some random thing, like if it was somebody building something in a garage, right? It would have to be really big, like the size of a car, I guess, maybe. But like the radar for like a normal airport isn't really tuned for that kind of thing. So I would imagine that it would not have been picked up by some FAA radar. So it would only be like something that we saw visually. So like if it was some military exercise or some experimental thing, like I said last week, it would not surprise me if nobody in the planning meeting ever considered the fact that somebody might see it. I would
Well, I
not.
mean,
I would
that's-
not be surprised.
But the operation is pretty huge. My opinion would be like I understand that, but like like in order to there's supposed to be thousands of these sightings, and so in order for something to like that big of a scale to take place as part of just straight up incompetence or whatever you want to call it, isn't as likely when you're talking about as many sightings. We're talking about thousands here, so that's kind of why I feel like that theory might be okay. But it's been going on for like a month.
I was just
think
gonna
they
say,
would
it's been going on
course
for a while.
correct. Yeah, they would course correct. And so like I'm not sure, but
Well, I will. So I'll end this topic with my opinion. the
Wait.
Jersey sheriffs and police departments keep shooting them down. I love watching the videos of you guys just firing bullets into the air with shotguns. I don't know how smart that is and safe it is, but yeah, have some fun and hopefully tell us and explain to us
They
what
actually
these
shot
drones
one
are.
down.
I don't know if they shot one down. I think one crashed, but I saw a video of people shooting up into the sky trying to shoot them down. I don't know if that's safe. I highly advise against it, but it is comical to watch some of these videos.
Really?
That's what we talked about before with like hunting with slugs out here in the Midwest. Yeah, not good to shoot. Not good to shoot up in the air.
Wait, you're saying it's not safe to shoot a gun into the air with surrounding cities around? Do you think that's not a problem? Oh, you don't think
Haven't you
that's
guys
safe?
seen all those? Like, I think Castle has an episode where the falling bullet killed somebody, and they're trying to figure out.
Yeah,
Somebody just shot a rifle like 3 miles away, and it killed somebody.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think that, so here's what I think. Like, I think that there's definitely something that nobody wants to communicate going on. I don't think, aliens, all of that stuff is not the first thing I would jump to. I don't think there's definitely not enough proof for me when it's like, it's almost like the leprechaun in a tree. Like there's this video like in like 2005 of this news station in like Alabama, and they're like, oh man, we saw a leprechaun in a tree, and it was like a news story, and like everyone saw the leprechaun. There was no leprechaun in the tree. So I think there's a little bit of the leprechaun in the tree effect going on where people are just kind of conflagrating a lot of different things. But I also think there's something going on that isn't being communicated, and it's a pretty mass scale. And I think when you're involving that many witnesses, it would, I think sooner or later something has to get out, and I just hope they tell us the truth. But
we'll find out in January. We'll find out in January. I think one of the biggest problems is this administration is going out. So I don't think they want to take any headwinds on and ease the country, to be honest with you. I think they're like, okay, we can just outlast this for another 20 plus days. Ricardo, what did you put your background as? Is that
Tom Cruise? Is that Tom
Yeah,
Cruise?
it's Tom Cruise from
that's what you look like
Tropic
right now.
Thunder.
Is like Les Grossman.
That's a good one. I'm not gonna lie, that's a good one.
Look at that.
Hold on.
Matt.
Hold on.
That's
Let me
a great-
get a bear
that's a
so I can
great
put it as my
match right
background
there.
for you.
No, you don't have the skills.
I don't.
I mean, what wouldn't surprise me, honestly, what wouldn't surprise me is if they're looking for something like nuclear material or some terrorist or whatever it is, and you can't notify the public that there's like a potential nuclear threat or a dirty bomb or something along those lines, even though it might not be that serious.
So are
Although
you
Trump's kind of casual attitude about it was, I mean, he did say he wasn't going to go visit there, so maybe, but that wouldn't surprise me.
Are you saying that this might be a distraction for something else? Does the
No, I'm
government
saying, like-
actually usually do that though?
Well, I said that last week that there's probably something else going on there, but no, I mean like,
Could be-
let's say for instance they got an intelligence report saying that some nuclear material went missing, and they think it crossed into the one of the ports on the eastern seaboard, right?
Which they did.
Well, so if you wanted to like see, because you can see radioactive material, especially some of that major stuff from a long ways away with the right detection. So it wouldn't surprise me if they're flying drones around over people's houses just checking for radioactive material. I mean, that would not be
right.
out of the ordinary. If we're talking about the scale that everybody's claiming this thing exists.
Yeah,
could
and doing
be
it at
the-
the cover at night.
Yeah, it
doing
could
it
be
under the
the
cover at night.
uranium thing where they're looking for that material or whatever it was that got offloaded, showed
Yeah,
up damaged and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
something
Chris,
like, something like that.
I thank you for your aviation background and providing some great insights into this
You
topic.
told us.
As Bill Burr and Tom Cruise from Tropic Thunder, I appreciate it.
You need to get like a fat gold watch and
All right, here we go.
A fat suit.
Every
fat
week,
suit.
what I wear, you guys critique. Okay, this week I throw a sweater on. Last week I throw a hat on. You guys call me Roger Federer. Like every
You
week.
went
just
from
him.
Roger Federer to Eminem. I like it.
Oh God, I'll let that slide.
All right, guys. So I don't know if you guys heard about this, but this is a topic I wanted to talk about a little bit. There was a lawsuit that was filed against some of these big processed food companies, and what was I going to say? It named some pretty big guys, and this is a pretty unprecedented lawsuit here, and it's accusing these companies not only of creating food that is addictive, but in using tactics taken from the tobacco industry in order to create products and target individuals and vulnerable populations. This is pretty crazy, guys. This is like a 16-year-old kid who has basically got lawyers to help him out with this. And it was a class action lawsuit that was filed in the court of Philadelphia County by Bryce Martinez. That's the name of the young guy.
Okay.
Once. And then, so basically, there are three core allegations in this, right? The core allegations for this case are that this young man is accusing, and I believe he's a 16-year-old who got like type 2 diabetes very quickly, and he's kind of blaming the sort of the targeting and also the food itself for sort of, inflicting this illness upon himself. And so the first thing that he's accusing them of is creating addictive substances. And he's arguing that these ultra-processed foods are designed specifically to be addictive, and that the techniques were borrowed from the tobacco industry to manipulate consumer behavior and brain chemistry, including the use of special additives and processing methods that enhance the palatability and drive consumption far beyond what is healthy or necessary. So that's a big accusation. The second one is that they are accusing him of targeting these vulnerable populations and focusing on how these companies are marketing to children, particularly those in like minority communities. It focuses on using cartoon characters and vibrant packages. It talks about promotions with like sports stars and all this stuff. Really bad stuff. And then the health consequences is the other and last allegation. And it talks about how these guys have these foods that are present now in our diet have coincided with a dramatic increase in childhood obesity, type 2 diabetes, non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, all conditions that were rare before that are now pretty common among kids. These are some big names too, guys. They're naming Post, Pepsi Company, General Mills, Nestle, Kellogg, Mars, Conagra, Kraft, Heinz, Mondelez, and Coca-Cola. And so that's a lot of big companies that are being named here. And this is something that I think takes precedence to, as RFK right now is meeting with senators and congressmen to sort of get confirmed. This is a little sort of like the first thing I think we see kind of creeping up that would be supported by somebody like that. What do you guys think about this? Mike, you have a little bit of a legal background.
Yeah. Well, I'll give you my opinion first. Marketing techniques, so I don't specialize in this. I'm in a different area of law. I could go off of what I'm going to say based off law school, but just off of common knowledge and common sense. First things first, marketing techniques. They're used all the time. They're used in a multitude of different ways on consumers on how to buy cars. They're used on consumers on how to buy clothes, everything, housing, and such. Same technique was used during an argument actually was made during the time when there was all the foreclosures and the mortgage-backed securities issues in the financial crisis when it came to real estate. They said that they were predatory actions taken towards the people that basically couldn't really afford houses because they knew they would make some money off of it, but these people really couldn't understand the terms, but more so they would be more vulnerable, to say the least.
Yeah, vulnerability.
Yeah. There was a difference between that because it was based on a socioeconomic position. Here, it's based on an age position, which is more of like, okay, they're young. They're under age. They don't know what they're consuming, but they're being marketed towards. Now, there goes back to a fundamental thing here, which is basically who is buying these kids food? I feel like if your mother and father are buying these kids food, okay, uh, you have to make better decisions. You have to understand that, what you put in your body is going to have a long-term impact. Every company's job is to make money. Some companies undercut certain things to make money, and they get in trouble for that. Other companies try to go down that straight line to make money. But every company's objective is to make as much money as possible in the cheapest way possible. So the cheapest cost, okay? So this falls back on certain things. I think it falls on to the companies because they use chemicals that are intentional. They use those things to make you addicted to certain foods. Like I could eat chocolate chip cookies all day long, okay? And I told you this to you guys the other day. I know they're not good for me. And I know they're addictive because they're just so damn good. But I'm a grown adult. I know, okay, after I eat 5 of them, I feel sick and I really shouldn't be eating any more of them. So I stop. But kids don't have that. Kids in general don't have that ability to stop. When you continue to eat something, Kit Kats, Skittles, when you're eating cereal, okay, you don't have the ability to stop. You're just like, okay, I'm a kid. I don't know what this is doing in my body. And they're filled with nothing but chemicals. I think it falls back on companies because they intentionally do this because it drives up their margins, it drives up their profits. But I also think it falls back on the parents. And I think you made a point about individuals with socioeconomic issues, where it was, poor communities. That's who they prey on because educated communities know if you eat 27 Kit Kats in a day, it's not a good thing for you. But in communities that are underprivileged, that don't have the financial means to buy healthier food, they're going to get, excuse my language, but this shittier food. And they're not going to have the understanding of what it does to their bodies and the impact that it's going to have. So they don't read the labels. They don't sit there and they're like, okay.
Yeah, but you think it's education? I mean, I
think it's a combination of things. I think
so. How do you
education.
solve that issue? I mean, you can't just be like, all right, poor people can't read and give their kids shitty food.
Well, one of the big things is food stamps. So there's been a lot of issues with food stamps because food stamps allocates a certain amount of money I think it's every week or every month. I can't remember exactly how much it is. But when you're given a certain amount of money from the government to help you, you look at it and like, okay, what can I afford? What can I buy? And typically those individuals are buying tons of junk food. You're buying tons of stuff that are realistically not healthy. You go to the grocery stores, when you get a non-GMO food, it's usually, depending on product, but it's usually a lot more money.
So we would have to like almost mandate or track that some of that money be spent on produce and whole foods.
Yeah, I think when it comes to
like you got to buy potatoes, and you got to buy like steak or chicken. You got to buy stuff that like actually has nutrition. You can't buy this like, or even start declassifying some of these foods as foods. And almost like products, the way that you can't use food stamps to buy tobacco or alcohol, maybe you can't use food stamps to buy these, like you can't buy a bag of Doritos, food stamps.
Yeah, but it also falls back on the chemicals that they use in the foods. I think, so why is it in the U.S.? Why is it in the U.S. you can use certain additives, but then you go to Europe and all those additives are not in the same
They're
food?
all banned.
Because
They're
of
all
profit.
banned.
Hopefully RFK will
that's my
clear
point.
some of this out.
That's my point. So you can help a whole generation of people if you ban certain additives that you know that are not good for you. Look, we have science. We've been doing studies for years. We understand the impacts of a lot of these chemicals that are in the food. We know what that does. There's a reason why we have an obesity problem. There's a reason why, everything goes back to diabetes. Diabetes over time has just been like this. Phew. Like, we've known this for the last 20 years, 30 years. Everybody has. And it continues to get worse and worse. So there has to be a point where you step in and say, okay, if you still want to eat those Skittles, is this additive good? Okay? Can we take this additive out? You still taste it the same, but it makes it a little bit healthier.
Yeah, check this out. So in the 1980s, Philip Morris and R.J. Reynolds acquired Kraft, General Foods, and Nabisco, giving them control over popular brands like Oreo cookies, macaroni and cheese, and Lunchables.
So Man, a lot to unravel. First of all, stop eating chocolate chip cookies from the crazy cat lady down the hall. That'll help.
I'll be back. I gotta pee.
Go ahead, Chris. I'm listening.
So, high fructose corn syrup we know is addictive already. We don't. There's like no research needed for that. So, but I would say, I guess, isn't there a legal precedence based on Joe Camel? Because like, wasn't there a lawsuit because of Joe Camel was a cartoon that was directed at targeting children, and so they had to get rid of the Joe Camel. That's why Joe Camel doesn't exist anymore. I'm just curious.
You're
'cause,
talking
like, that
about the
would-
cigarette. You're talking about the cigarette company?
Because that
yeah,
would
yeah.
explain like
Yeah.
the Dracula. I mean, like Dracula, Count Dracula, whatever.
Yeah, it was the illegal
Count
marketing
Chocula or
techniques.
whatever.
Yeah. Mhm.
Because if you're, selling these products to children, knowing that there's addictive chemicals like high fructose corn syrup, as an example, I
Yeah.
feel like that would be, basis with legal precedent, right? But I think the problem, and this is what I'm learning a lot as like I get older and I read labels, is that a lot of times things that you think are good for you, you find out they're not, right? So like, I forget the chemical, man. It's gonna kind of piss me off, but like when you look at fortified, like if something says it's fortified or enriched wheat, then that has added stuff in it that they don't have to disclose, and some of that stuff is banned in the UK.
Yeah.
Right. And so it's like you're eating what you would think is like an organic English muffin or whatever, right? With organic grains, but it's like
Organic.
enriched. Yeah, but it's enriched, right? There was another one that was it Trader Joe's? One of the companies that Trader Joe's was using to like source organic products was from China or something. I can't remember the country. It turned out that they were putting organic on the label, but not passing the FDA rules to make it organic. So they were actually selling non-organic products in Trader Joe's.
No way. Can't believe
Yeah.
that one.
I don't know, big shocker, right?
Yeah.
That's actually I did a little research on that. They call that greenwashing. And so like they were doing it a lot at Whole Foods, and the way that they did it was by establishing this different tier system of like the wholeness of the food from like 1 to 5. Like 1 was like, yo man, we grew it out in the side parking lot. And then like 5 was like, Jesus grew it. All right. And so like basically like, no antibiotics, grass fed, pasture, sun, motherfucker singing to the cows and stuff, And so they
Should
sort
get
of
that
like,
job.
yeah, I would love that. And so they in the middle is where they mixed in, and basically what they started doing was being able to use the same meat that your the local grocery stores were buying in the middle, but with a higher pricing, because it was part of this rating system, and they called it greenwashing, and that was to like basically like be affronting like you're like organic, but you're not, and that way you do it so that you can get a higher price, because those
Right.
products come at a supply chain premium. And that's awful.
Yeah. Well, there's another company out there that I know because I was doing research. I just can't remember the name of the company. So on these farms, some of the food, the fruit or vegetables start becoming soiled. Or spoiled, I should say. So what ends up happening is they spray this chemical on the fruit so it
Glyphosate.
lasts. Yeah. So the
Or-
life
or-
expectancy of the fruit lasts longer and it stays fresher. Now, let me ask you a question. How healthy is spraying a chemical on a fruit or vegetable that's being spoiled, okay? And then over time it lasts longer and it stays fresh? That it doesn't, just in general, it doesn't sound good. Like when something starts to rot, typically it means it's bad. It's
Mike,
going bad.
that,
You shouldn't consume it.
That chemical is called appeal. It's a
Appeal?
appeal. Yep. It's like has a bunch of different stuff. Plant-based edible coating that can be sprayed and dipped into products. It is definitely owned by someone. I think it's one of these big chemical companies that owns it.
Yeah.
And then, then to get back to the food stamps thing, that's kind of the crux of the issue, right? Is that, let's say you're on a fixed income, food stamps, the elderly, whatever, young people, there isn't a market for foods that are relatively healthy and cheap. It doesn't exist, right? They don't. So even when you go to the store and you want to eat relatively healthy, then you're not eating a whole lot, essentially. So
Yeah.
I think that's part of this whole ordeal that we're dealing with. It's cheaper to go buy a bag of Oreos than it is to buy a salad or whatever, something that actually has like nutrients in it. Um, and it's kind of sad, honestly. And
Yeah.
it's why honestly the organic movement has become sort of like the wealthy, privileged movement because
Yeah, but
I call it
working,
greenflation. It's like greenflation. All of a sudden,
Yeah,
they're
but
like, "Yo, man, this cow ate grass," and then I'm like, "I thought all cows ate grass," and they're like, "No, no, no, but not
no,
anymore.
no.
Now they eat
they eat corn syrup.
Now they eat Dinty Moore beef stew. Oh, I didn't fucking know that. Yeah, and so now you got to pay for more for the one that eats grass. But I thought all cows eat grass. It's unbelievable.
So I used to work at when I was younger. When I started out,
Piggly
I worked
Wiggly?
on.
Not a Piggly Wiggly?
No, I worked on the back of a truck delivering fruit and produce to some of the major restaurants in New York City, clubs, etc. And I remember talking with the owners of the company and talking about organic fruit compared to regular fruit, and it was fascinating. It's basically just they use different chemicals on the fruit, which are under the qualification of organic, so they can charge a higher price. So there's a little wiggle room there. But one thing I was going to say though, before that happened was before we started talking about that is I use this app called Yuka. You scan the barcode of any product, and what it does is it's phenomenal. Believe it or not, it will show you all the additives. It will give you a rating: poor, good, fair. It will tell you the sodium levels in the product. It will tell you if it's GMO. It literally will go through everything and it would rate it. And I got to be honest with you, like I used to get all these things like you were talking about, like you thought they were healthy, and then all of a sudden you would scan it and I read labels and I started reading the chemicals in them, and it would give you a breakdown on the chemical structures and why they're bad. I love this app. I literally use it every time I go
What's
to a
it
grocery
called?
store.
It's called Yuka.
Yuka. Yuka. Yeah, it's phenomenal.
Nice.
I love it.
The Yuka app. You mean, speaking of cutting things out, the Fed cut interest rates, guys, this week. That's a big story. I don't know. If
Sweet.
you saw
I got to
this.
refinance my home.
Right. So central bank this week lowered its interest rates down by 0.25% to about 4.2 to 4.5. I mean, rates have fallen almost a full point since September, apparently making it cheaper to finance everything. I don't know. I mean, this doesn't look like inflation is still, a thing. I know that the CPI numbers for this month were higher than they were for last month. So I think it's at 2.7, 3.7 or something like that. So definitely higher numbers from last month. I think, this might affect the market. What do you guys think?
You want me to go first,
I mean,
Chris?
sounds great. I'm okay with it. I don't know why we have to have everything so ridiculously high in the first place. But hopefully I can refinance my home.
First of all, you live in Indiana. Slow your roll. You're fine.
Slow your roll.
So
Hater.
one of the things on this news though, like even though they cut it 25 basis points, this last Fed meeting, the outlook towards next year was less than dim. Originally they said 100 basis point cuts next year. Now they're saying there's only going to be 2 cuts, which is going to be, I think, equivalent to 50 basis points. But the unique thing is Powell started talking about certain things when it came to the environment, the next year, thinking inflation's going to go up, unemployment, there was kind of factors or indicators that they weren't feeling too confident. Now, one of the things I laugh about is the CPI and all these like data points. They're not true indicators. And what I mean by that is when it first started, it was a true indicator. But over the year, they take core elements out of these reports so the reports look better. If you go to the grocery store now compared to a year ago, are you going to simply tell me that the prices of groceries have gotten better. They haven't. They've stayed the
Absolutely
same.
not. No,
Ever since
no.
ever since they increased, it stayed the same. So for you to tell me that inflation was going down over these last couple of months and you really felt it in your wallet, I'm sorry, I didn't. I didn't. And almost everybody in America, unless you're part of the 1%, didn't see it going down. So I have a fundamental issue with this and all these reports and everything. But I do love how we get gaslit and told the entire year that the economy is doing great, we're doing better, we're doing better. And then January 20th, we have a new president coming in, and all of a sudden it's like, well, you know what? The economy's not really doing that great. We're going to have to roll back everything that we talked about. But I think it's fascinating how they just do that once and all.
Yeah, it looks like the market reacted with a big sell-off. Dow Jones was down more than 1,100 points, nearly 2.6%, while the S&P 500 index plunged nearly 3%.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. The market went back up, I think, today, if I remember correctly. When I was looking earlier, it went up, but it still didn't recover, and there's a lot of companies.
A little
There's
bit.
Also, yeah. But the big thing about the rates going down or up is it helps companies refinance their debt. It's all about debt, and most of these companies operate on debt
Long-term
nowadays.
collateralized debt.
Yeah. So that's the biggest problem. So now the Fed's playing into that. Some of these companies, like over the last couple of years, it was very hard to refinance debt because your interest rates were higher. So a lot of these institutions had to get really creative. The problem is, though, a lot of startups and a lot of tech companies and a lot of companies just in general, when they first start, it's all debt. It's all debt. So if you have high interest rates, your payments are a lot higher. So is this going to help or is it going to hurt going forward? And I think it's actually going to be more harmful if you're not going to bring interest rates down as much, because then companies don't have the operating capital. And if their notes are due at a certain point and they have to refinance that debt, it's going to be a lot harder because banks and a lot of institutions are not going to have as many vehicles to do that.
So you're saying we should lower it more?
If the economic data shows it, they should lower it more. But the problem is, it's all about projections right now, what they're projecting for the next year. The problem is, let's see what the market shows and it demonstrates next year. So I think it's a little premature to say we're only going to do 2 rate cuts next year. Let's see what the market does.
Yeah, see what the market needs.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely, guys. Speaking of a whole lot of money, guys.
Well, yeah, I was going to say that segues nicely into the next one.
Yeah, Ukrainian aid hits 183 billion, guys. Let's check out this video.
Where the country will get nearly $1 billion in additional aid from the U.S. in a last push to help the country before the Trump administration comes in. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin says this package will give Ukraine more drones, rockets, and more support for maintenance. Austin says this brings...
Nice. So they just got a nice little bump too. Everybody's happy over there getting some money, 183 billion. I got a nice little slide here if you want to check this out, guys. So as of September 30th, funding totals over 183 billion, and we can check out here a little bit where it's coming from. Majority of it from the Department of Defense, broken down there. You can check that out. USA Aid, which is a financing arm of the CIA. It's like the IMF, the International Monetary Fund. They're basically giving away money there. And then the state, I don't know what that means. And then other organizations, maybe State Department.
Yeah, I think maybe the State Department.
Yeah, 1 billion. Looks like 130 obligated and 86 dispersed. I'm not sure what that means either.
I think obligated means they're committed to. 86 is actually what was given so far.
Okay, there exactly, guys.
I thought it was 130 billion was like obligated like stuff, and the 86.
Oh, you're talking
do
about
whatever
130
they
billion,
want.
like machinery,
yeah.
like
I think the
equipment?
86 is they do whatever they want with it. 130 is like
Yeah,
Well, you're the
obligated.
military guy.
Right,
You
like they
tell
gotta
me,
buy
what
it.
the hell am I
They
answering
gotta
this
buy
with?
stuff. So the horrible thing about this is that with this 135, with this 130 billion, like we're talking about, obligate. Chris is talking about. What that means is that they have to use it with the Fed's approved vendors, and all of those vendors are United States like military and weapons manufacturers. So the money just literally comes right back into the hands of the United States manufacturers,
defense contractors. Yeah.
Yep.
So just to give you an idea, obligating money in the U.S. government is
Give
money
me
that
an
the government
idea.
has promised to spend either immediately or in the future. So promised. It's not actually money spent yet.
Oh,
They
aspired.
promised to spend. Yeah.
But it's still there.
Yeah.
So just to put this in context, I looked it up. There are 18 states that have a lower GDP than 183 billion. One of them's Hawaii, and the District of Columbia is on the list as well. So, I mean, it's a lot of money. 183 billion dollars. You could divide that by 330 million. That's $550 a person. Not that that's a lot of money for everybody, but that's basically what they gave out for COVID, right? Was it $400 for COVID or whatever it was?
Why don't you tell us? Because I know you got a couple of checks.
Well, I lived in San Diego at the time, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, like that's COVID money basically that they're just giving out to Ukraine for proxy war, so that Russia, doesn't, I don't know, get mad at stuff that we did. This is our fault, by the way.
Yeah. So I think, look, I'm in agreement with helping Ukraine. I'm not going to sit here and say that Ukraine doesn't need help, but at a certain point, when is enough enough? Like, we have issues here in the U.S. that we need rectifying. Now, the problem is, this is why our budget and this is why our deficit is so out of control. When you look at money spent like this, like, I understand the need to help. I do. I'm very compassionate about that, and I really understand that, people are getting slaughtered. There are people dying left and right, civilians, women, children. I understand that. But at a certain point, it's like, okay, it's not our fight currently. I understand why people say we should be involved, but I sit there and say, I don't know if we need to be involved. We've done our part. We've helped as much as we can, and we continue to help. But at a certain point, it's like, okay, what's the end game? Are we going to give $1 trillion? Or are we going to start sending troops over there? Like, what's the end game?
We want to redevelop, man. The end game is us redeveloping the entire country and like all those like redevelopment contracts, for those buildings and hospitals and all that stuff.
Yeah, I don't know. That's going to be a tough one. I think personally, this war, I think after Trump gets in, I just have a sick feeling. I think because of the unpredictability of Trump and the fact that when he gets into office, you don't know what he's going to do. I think this war is going to come to an end somehow with a concession from both parties. I think there's going to be more of a concession on Ukraine. But I think at the end of the day, we're just throwing money. We keep just throwing money, and I can't get behind this anymore with the amount of money that we're throwing there, with so many people struggling here. I just can't do it anymore. We've done our part. Okay, where's NATO? Where's they don't, Russia, that's a big problem with Russia in this war. They don't want NATO involved. But Zelensky wants NATO and wants all their resources. Other people are going to have to step up at a certain point, other countries. So let them get involved and let them help.
They're all dealing with Muslim immigration right now.
Oh yeah, there's a massive immigration problem all over, So, but yeah,
Well,
my point is I have
we
a problem.
we did this. I mean, Putin said
You did that.
Look, no,
I didn't do this.
Putin
I didn't do a
said-
damn thing. Stop saying
Putin said
we
at the
did
very
this.
beginning. I don't care as long as our western border doesn't have any NATO nations on it.
Well, that's
that's what he
Exactly.
said. He
We
said
do
that,
do
and then we
that.
slowly have been giving NATO support to countries on the western border, and then finally Putin's like, I'm fucking done.
Oh, it started
Like
with
this is
dickheaded.
our well, we this is our encroachment. Well, first of all, we couldn't have put NATO in until we got our own leadership in Ukraine. So the whole
Yeah.
coup was basically CIA, right?
Yeah, we did
wanted
that.
our own leadership in, so then we can get NATO support, so that he would ask for NATO support. But that's not really the point. The point is that Putin told us not to do it, and we did it anyways. So like, and look, I'm not saying that Putin is a whatever. He's kind of a crazy person, but
ethical guy because he's
but
not.
when the crazy guy says don't do something, or I'm gonna push back, and you do it, and he pushes back, like that's on you, dog. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah, we definitely.
if the
did
homeless
that.
guy says he's gonna shit on your car if you don't fucking go away, and you don't go away, and he shits on your car, you fucked up.
Well, first
I
of
mean,
all, I'm not homeless, and yes, I did it to Ricardo's car.
Oh, that's fucked up, man. I think you're an asshole then. That's fucked up,
Not the
dude.
first time. Won't be the last time.
Not the first time.
Yeah, after our binges on India Street.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I agree. I think it's just a big money laundering operation. to
Oh,
be
it's
honest
all
with you.
mechanism to build up the industrial military complex.
So,
for sure.
I mean,
100%.
like, this has got to stop. We got to stop the bleeding, or the country's going to go bankrupt. It's going to be run by these oligarchs who control these companies and Fink or whatever from BlackRock and these huge hedge funds. It's going to be awful. It's going to be tough for, and that's government's going to have to step in. That's going to be dirty. So no one's going to like that.
I never really liked that whole, like, we spend so much money on support to other countries, and I mean, I'm so glad that we cut the budget to NASA a long time ago and sort of privatized some of the stuff. Because, like, one of the things that this is kind of another example, is like we were spending more on space exploration than we were on the ocean, right? Like, but it's like we don't have any idea what's on the sea floor, but we care about like stuff that's floating. That's not like we should know everything there is to know about like every inch of the surface of the planet before we start like exploring Mars. That's my opinion. Same thing with America. We should have every problem like either
Rectified or
encapsulated as a potential issue that can be solved, understanding it, how it can be solved, or already solved before we start throwing entire state's GDP to another country as a proxy war with Russia.
Well, I mean, it feels like
blows my mind.
Kind of like guilt and responsibility. Like, oh, we started this mess. We have to like make sure that we don't lose Ukraine. Blah 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 blah. I mean, it sounds like they're just doing it out of sort of like guilt support. They don't want to.
Well, so there's a problem here.
It was Obama that did all that shit.
If we really cared, we would send the Marines. If we really gave a shit, we would send the Marines and we would fuck Russia up. But because we don't actually give a shit, we're just throwing money at them.
If you were sent, I don't know if we would fuck anybody else. I seen
here's
you in the gym.
Here's the argument. The argument is always this, right? If we gave a fuck about whether or not Ukraine got taken over by Russia, we would send the Marines in. We would bring the army in behind them, and then we would fucking close the border down, and it would be over. We would build a base on the border of Russia, and we would. Russia
You mean
cannot,
like Berlin when the Great Wall, the Berlin Wall collapsed?
Russia's military is garbage. All right, so
well, I've heard that from numerous people. If you watch those videos of like
Great
their promotional
caviar.
videos,
Horrible military.
yeah. Well, if you watch those videos, they try to put these propaganda videos out, but the realistic situation is they're just not tactically as advanced. And there's a multitude of military. There's people that have been higher up that talked about this. There's several podcasts of some senior military leaders have talked about this as well. And it's evident, I think, in this Ukrainian war right now with what's going on, that their military dominance that they talked about is really not dominant, because now Ukraine is not known as a military country. They're known about having heart and being able to fight for themselves through passion. And they've done so far, if you're looking at this war, they've done a good job.
Of playwrights.
Yeah. So long
Lots
story
of heart.
short, though, is I just think it's gotten out of control now, and I think the problem here is just it's always that threat of Russia using nuclear weapons, because they always have that threat, because now they're shooting ballistic missiles, those long-range ballistic missiles, and taunting, and now that's like, okay, we're getting into areas now. It's like, okay, it's either we solve this or we stop, or
What are the
or
odds?
what's going?
You think Ukraine gets blown the F up?
The whole country?
Like Putin just gets sick of it and just drops something.
Nah, there would be too many ramifications for Putin. Putin's a lot smarter than that, I personally think. I don't think he would do that. I think because ending the world, you don't have any legacy, and he's so about his legacy, and he can't stop getting elected. This guy intentionally just keeps getting elected. It's about his legacy for him. And I can't see him blowing up Ukraine, because then you bring all the superpowers of the world involved, and now you're really having you can have a potential chance of a nuclear war that kills everybody. And
that's not good.
And I can't see that happening. Chris, maybe he's with his military mind. He can bring it in a little differently. But, all we have to do is send Ricardo over, and just have him go to the bathroom once, take a number 2 in his bathroom, and that's equivalent to a dirty bomb.
That's Operation Poopy
Upper
Putin.
decker.
Upper decker. There you go.
Upper decker. All right.
Yeah, no, I mean, like, look, the whole nuclear, war thing, everybody always uses that as a mechanism, but it's not happening. Putin knows it's suicide. Like, he would literally be killing himself and everyone around him. And everybody's always concerned. He's like, oh, his circle's so small and blah, blah, blah. It's like, dude, like, the only way Putin's going to, like, launch nuclear weapons is if we launch nuclear weapons first.
Yeah.
It's the only way. The only way he would do it is, like, I'm going to die. Might as well go down in flames, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's not going to preemptively nuclear strike the U.S. It's not happening, right?
You know whose circle's not so small? Is that girl that banged 100 dudes in 24 hours on OnlyFans?
I had a feeling you were going to bring that up.
Wow.
Oh my God! Did you see her crying
Houston 500?
afterwards? Huh?
I don't
Houston 500?
I didn't want to segue, but go ahead.
Do you remember the Houston 500 back in the day?
The race?
No, did not know. That.
Oh, there's some porn star that banged 500 dudes in like.
It concerns me the fact that you know that, and me and Ricardo don't know anything about it. What was this? Did you read this in a Playboy magazine
like
when you
in
were
the
like
90s,
18
man.
years old?
Whatever. Man.
Dude, the fact that there's like this running like all these like OnlyFans like models or whatever you want to call them, like influencers, whatever you want to call them, now that are doing these challenges, and it's really scary.
There's a girl who's doing 365 guys in a year. Or whatever.
And it's getting really like it's getting disgusting. It's like who can top who, and it's at a point where you're just like, do you have any dignity? Like this is, I get you're trying to do things, create content to get likes or make money.
I'll tell you
but
where
there's
it's
a
going.
point where you stop.
I'll tell you where it's going. My buddy Smitty was in the Navy, and he said he went to Thailand, and he saw a bird fly out of a woman's hoo-hoo. That's eventually what it's going to. It's going to be like OnlyFans. Watch this bird fly out of my hoo-hoo.
I'm just concerned, I mean, like, what happens if she gets sick and has like double dragon? I mean,
What's double dragon?
Yeah, what's
never had
double
double
dragon?
dragon? Never had double dragon?
Is that a military term?
Where you can't figure out whether or not you're gonna, crap yourself or throw up?
Oh,
'cause
gotcha,
you're
gotcha.
sick.
Yeah,
definitely
You ever
not.
had that happen?
No.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, well, try getting sick on the boat. You'll like basically puking and shitting at the same time. That's called double dragon.
Gotcha.
What
So
happens
did
if
you
she gets
spoil your
sick and-
bed? Did you soil your bed? Be honest.
No, God, no. No, that's horrible. No, I just
Be
didn't-
honest. Be
I
honest.
remember,
Tell us.
No, I had a top bunk, so like by the time I would get like almost in the bunk, I had to go back to the bathroom. Like you don't actually.
Yeah. I can see that.
Yeah. Never
Yeah, I
actually
just
made it
don't
in the bed.
understand I just don't understand the OnlyFans though. Like that girl. Did you see the video afterwards where she was like crying?
She's like,
And
I
it was
thought
like-
people would stop me from doing it. Like,
Oh,
yeah. She
And
was like,
yeah.
the way
that's
she was
always the
talking-
victim mentality on the
Yeah,
after.
but the way she was talking about it afterwards, like I was kind of disgusted listening to her explain how her body felt during it. I was just like,
I don't
like
wanna
I
know
thought
that.
somebody would bring lube. Nobody brought any lube.
yeah. But there was the other one where there was two girls that I forgot banged. I think it was like 50 guys in like a certain amount of period of time, and they took videos of it afterwards of all the condoms on the ground, and it was like, this is just disgusting. This is nasty, and you have this on the internet for the rest of your life.
That's pretty
If you
gross.
want to have kids or you have kids, this is the by far, like, you have no shame. You will do anything for $1, and it's horrific. It's horrific.
Yeah,
For more
I
of the
think
story, you guys want to check out my OnlyFans later?
no. Apparently now she's gonna do 1,000 guys in 24 hours.
No,
So,
she's not.
Yep,
That's
that's
some.
serious.
Did she release that, or is that your joke right now?
No,
'Cause
I'm
if you-
serious, 100%. And she's like, the logistics are the hardest part. Like everybody's got to come.
She
and, like,
definitely didn't say this. I can
45
see you laughing
no,
right now.
I'm not kidding. Look it up. I don't have any supporting evidence with me, but
They got to stand outside with their
He goes,
test results. You guys
Yeah.
get test results, and then you get in.
yeah. Ricardo goes, I don't have any supporting evidence of this. He goes,
Well- I'll tell you what. Speaking of screwing a whole bunch of dicks, I don't know if you guys saw this, but recently Elon has killed the House spending bill using like his X posts, which I think is pretty fantastic. Check out this video that USA Today made, kind of breaking it all down.
Lock it up. Lock it up, Mike.
Take over, Eli. Just take over.
Well, that's interesting. That's a lot of leverage he's using with his platform on this. What do you guys think?
Fun fucking times. The only thing that sucks about it, and I've been in the military during a shutdown, basically, where the budget's not signed by
Hasn't been
the
approved.
end of-
Yeah.
but hasn't been approved yet. Obviously, the military gets paid, but so the Department of Homeland Security does not. So that's the issue, right? So I have friends that work like on Border Patrol and stuff. They don't get paid. The Coast Guard doesn't get paid. Military still gets a paycheck, but a lot of the other infrastructures that are very important don't. And it's hard, man. It's hard when you're like a Homeland Security guy or somebody that's, living paycheck to paycheck, and then, the government doesn't. To me, what I've always hated about this whole thing is that even if the budget doesn't get approved, they still go home for Christmas. To me, like, you should, like, December 1st, essentially, like, you're locked in Congress, you're locked in session until you get the budget approved, and if it's not approved, then you're not going home. Like, that's it. You have one job. The Congress has one job every year, and that's to get the budget approved. And if they don't get it approved, then you either get fired or you're in lockdown, and maybe both. But I think if you can get a budget approved, like everyone in Congress, essentially, that's not on their first term, or like first two terms, maybe should be ineligible for re-election. Like that's basically how bad it's gotten. Every single year we have this problem. And the problem is that every single year it's bloated with so much crap. We've talked about it many times, that there's no reason why there has to be a problem, because all you have to do is just cut all the bullshit out. Stop paying your friends. Sorry.
Well,
Rant's over.
that's so the problem is everybody's like, well, we could do it later. We can do it later. We can do it later. We'll figure this problem out later. How many years has this been going on now? Nobody's figuring out anything. So it's unfortunate, but at some point you have to put your foot down. I think the bill, I think it was, what was it, 1,500 pages? 1,500
Dude, there
pages
was
of funding.
$3 billion in the bill for a new stadium, a new RFK stadium to be built, football stadium downtown.
Oh, you're talking about
DC?
Washington?
Yeah,
right?
man,
Washington.
it's ridiculous. Yeah.
Yeah, it was out of control. Like, at a certain point, it's like you have to stop doing certain things. We are in a financial, like, distressed, like, position in this country. Our budget is out of control. All these little giveaways are out of control. At some point, everybody, and I think this is the start of it, you got to put your foot down and say, okay, we're not doing this anymore. We're cutting this shit out, and you have to do that, because at this point, we're going to be the next Japan. We're just going to keep running everything up to the point where you can never lower. It's going to get to a point where even if you try to stop doing certain things at a certain point, you can't. because too many people rely on it, and that's when scary situations happen in the government where your reliance on the government is just too much. So
That's the argument. That's the argument now. Because
well,
like
that's my
the what is it?
Yeah.
Welfare is now more than the Department of Defense. So
yeah. So well, there's other things. I think we could go on to
Cutting
welfare.
the
We could talk
cutting the
about other
cutting
things,
the
but-
pork out of some of these spending bills, in the way that he's done here is extremely effective, right? He was able to go in to dissect the bill, highlight portions of the bill, images of the bill in real time to millions of people so that they could see the evidence he had to support his claims on why he would oppose the bill. And I think he's really setting a precedence here on like how you can really use technology to like create more of a democracy. I mean, I agree. Don't think that we should be passing a bill with all that pork in there at all, especially if we're looking at reducing stuff, and we're printing money and sending it to Ukraine. There's definitely, some sort of a call here for cutting some of the stuff that is internally bleeding. I mean, we have to close all of these leaks internally. And I mean, the goal can be all of them. And if we get, 50% of them, then that's great too.
Well, yeah. So the one thing that I will say about Trump and this administration and the last administration, the one thing he has done that's beautiful. You might not like him. A lot of people might not like him, might not agree with him. But the one thing he has done that's beautiful is highlight serious issues that are going on. And right now, people start seeing this budget and they're seeing the deficit and where money's being spent in. And you're like, and a lot of people, more people are looking at it like, what the hell is going on here? How is this budget out of control? How are we spending this? And they look at the actions of our congressman. They're talking like Biden actually came out the other day and talked about how, treating on Congress members is a problem. He actually literally took the side of maybe we have to think about this and talk about this because.
well, yeah, now he's made millions already. So yeah,
But
he's fine.
but still, it's the point where he has to take a position because people are talking about it so much. So it doesn't matter. Everything in the past has happened. It's gone. If we can file legislation that they can't trade stock now going forward, then that stops the next generation of politicians trying to do that until they change it back. But at a certain point, you have to put your foot down. Like you shouldn't be making $500 million, as a Congress member. You shouldn't be walking downstairs in high heels and break your hip and then making trades and through your husband. Like
What?
Like, yeah, I think I
Those
read
are
something
two
about that.
irrelevant or completely irrelevant topics, but I agree. I mean,
Go ahead.
either do it, but like there's it's bleeding from all sides, and so like if you're gonna pork belly bills and then do insider trading and then like manipulate legislation to favor certain business sectors that you're invested in, I think all of that conflict of interest needs to go. Just to get to the core of like where are all the people that support you guys? We have lives also. So I think
Was there
that
another conflict of interest topic that we had?
could have been. I don't remember all of them.
Yeah, you're talking about Elizabeth Warren.
Oh, Trump calling Elizabeth Warren names.
Yeah, that's the
I don't have that.
that's the segue topic. But yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
I thought that was one of our topics. My bad.
We could talk about that. I don't know anything about that. What happened? He called her Pocahontas again? Who cares?
Yeah, so she's basically saying that there should be a conflict of interest for Elon Musk taking over any department in the government because of his affiliation with Twitter or X or whatever you want to call it.
His interests is, but his businesses.
And so Trump came back and was like, "Shut up, Pocahontas."
Yeah, your contribution to society is like 1/3000th of what he's.
1042 or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
But if you look, so somebody on X actually pulled Elizabeth Warren's net worth. It was like $68 million. And it's like,
Unbelievable.
so her salary now is 400,000, which is quite a bit, right, for a senator.
Well, they just got the raise.
Well, yeah. So I mean,
No, they didn't
even if
because
you
the
invested
bill didn't
every
get
single
passed.
penny, even if you invested every single penny, that's not $68 million. I mean, right? I mean, that means it's like all these people are doing better than the
Books,
S&P
appearances.
500 over 40 years, right? Didn't lose a single time. Every year she's at least, a certain percent gain. Never lost. Yeah. Ridiculous.
Yeah, so my whole thing I understand the conflict of interest argument because he does have a ton of businesses. He does have it now. He's going to have a lot more connections with the government who's regulating him. So I can understand that argument, but I also understand the argument that he's a civilian I want to say a kind of a consultant, or an advisor position. Like we've had those for years. We've had, the Economic Council where, you had every CEO of every major corporation that was involved in the government talking about the next generation, what's going on, how do we make this better? There's always these advisors. I just like how she picks him out and sits there and calls him out. I think she has a problem with him personally because
I think
she's just not as successful.
I think it's just popularity. Like, I think the fact that people listen to what he says really pisses a lot of people off.
Well, I think it's like what we talked about before. You have one of two options in this instance, right? Either you can quietly sit by and wait for it to blow up in their faces and then say, "Hey, see, like this is why we don't do this," or you can double down on your constituency. So like she thinks that her constituency hates Trump, hates Elon, and so she has to be shown fighting against him in whatever capacity she can come up with. Otherwise, she's not going to get voted back, right?
Yeah.
And so it's just doubling down on the opinion of the loudest 10% of her constituents. And it's a stupid strategy, I think.
Yeah, I gotta ask you guys. Don't you love how nowadays we have career politicians? Do you ever look at when the Constitution was created in those years afterwards, how they were actually
like politicians that deliver mail? Courier politicians?
Yeah, exactly.
Career.
Career. I thought you said courier. I said
career
motherfuckers
politicians.
dropping off those little tubes and shit.
And New York accent.
I like
chocolate
how
chip cookies got a swollen tongue.
Courier pigeons.
I like the fact that I ate those cookies a couple of days ago. They were so great. And then I sent you guys text messages at the gym that I was dying and I felt like I was going to throw up everywhere.
Yeah.
But
Told
going
you,
back to
cat hair.
I ate half
Dude,
that
don't
pie
get me
in
started.
Indianapolis, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ricardo's
The
dying from
evidence
the pie.
is still all over the place.
No, it's not.
Dude, I won't never let that go. Hey, we got 5 minutes to turn over the steaks. Meanwhile, there is literally no propane in the grill.
But they got made somehow. The Lord made them.
Came over, like half of the pie was in the plate, like a third of it was on the stove, and a third of it was in Ricardo's belly, apparently.
I try to clean it.
Yeah, how about the fact that he cooked the steaks and he's just cutting it while we're playing the game, and he's like eating it, screaming the answers to the game.
That's how you
Ariana-
eat steak.
So fucking drunk.
Yeah. What was the one? Oh, it was Ariana Grande, which we were both.
Oh yeah, cunt.
Asshole.
That's gross.
Oh, that was great.
That was fun. That was a lot of fun.
That was a great time.
So you want to talk about leadership, buddy? On
Uh-oh.
your series of The Power of Silence, brought to you by
Tuscaloosa.
Tuscaloosa, Alabama. This is Elvis's continuing
place.
series on leadership.
No, so
Alabama can go fuck themselves. I'm so happy they had college football season. But continue.
this has always been a topic that's near and dear to my heart as somebody who, so just to show, paint a picture, we have maintenance meetings every day in the aviation community. So in the morning and the evening, every day we get like the shop leadership and all the, all the minions, the people that are running the desk, everybody's together in this small little room. And it's like the last thing we do before we go home. It's the first thing we do when we come into work. And I remember just sitting behind the counter sometimes listening to some of these like old farts just drone on about nonsense. And you're like, I lost so much respect for so many people who just wouldn't, who just like, you give them the opportunity to say something and they run with it. Like the shit that I've heard about was just pointless. Right. So I've always thought that there was very important leadership skill that if you're given the opportunity to speak and you don't have anything specific to say, then just shut the fuck up. And I thought it was brilliant Saban actually said this the other day on one of the college football thing. I can't remember which one. He was like, "Never miss an opportunity to shut up." And I was like, "Oh my God, Saban, I love you." Yeah, never miss an opportunity to shut up. If when in doubt, close your mouth.
Well, I'll elaborate on that topic a little
Mike
bit.
has a comment.
No, and it's not about giving value. It's also when somebody's giving you advice not to make excuses. Like a lot of people when they're being given advice, they're thinking of the next thing to say. And they're thinking about how to justify their actions instead of using silence to listen to the person that's more senior, has more experience, and is helping you. Don't try to combat it. Listen, digest it, and put it to use. You don't have to always have a response to everything. Sometimes the best response is just being quiet and taking the information in.
Yeah,
Silence here. Silence.
it's definitely good advice to when you're getting constructive criticism. Like unless you have something to clarify, like you need clarification. They're like rebuttaling is not necessarily the best response all the time. Like because it it doesn't feel like you're listening, right? If you're getting constructive criticism and you only have like you're only you're like essentially defending yourself, then you're missing the entire point. Like the constructive criticism is not supposed to be criticism. It's just letting you know that there's something that you need to work on from someone who has noticed. Maybe they're senior, maybe they're not, whatever. So yeah, never miss an opportunity to shut up, I think is just brilliant. Yeah, that's a good point. America.
And that's the point, Ricardo. The power
America.
of silence.
America. Mike, you want to talk about physical health?
Yeah, so one of the topics we were talking about before about the lawsuit as it relates to addictive like chemicals that are put into foods. Well, I wanted to elaborate a little bit on that relatively quickly. One of the things is physical health is extremely important. I don't think a lot of people actually understand why it is so imperative of what you eat, getting active, taking care of your body. A lot of people let themselves go. A lot of people don't do certain things. Physical health is just one element. It impacts everything, your mental aptitude. It affects your energy levels. It affects your blood circulation, all of that. And one thing is make sure you get out. If you can't do it every day, can't go to the gym, make sure you just walk around the block. Make sure you walk around the neighborhood, get some sunlight. Everybody nowadays doesn't do enough for their physical health and rely on drugs from companies. If it's low blood pressure, I'm just using examples, okay? It's low blood pressure, it's diabetes, it's all of this stuff. You can combat a lot of health issues by getting outside, getting some sun, working out. You can do eating healthy. Another part of physical health is food. We talked about it earlier. Is taking care of yourself, eating enough greens, eating eggs, drinking tons of water, having alcohol in moderation, not drinking every night, not doing damage to your liver, not doing certain things. And another thing is when it comes to physical health is if you have an Instagram or you have a profile, don't compare yourself to other people. There's enough information out there that you know what to do, but don't start following an Instagram model or like a guy that works out at the gym and you see him do all these exercises and all the supplements. Be like, okay, I'm gonna buy his plan for $1,000 and I'm gonna look like him in 90 days. That's not how it works. I've been lifting for
Takes at least
13
120 days at least.
I've been lifting for I want to say about 20 years now. Our bodies are all different.
That's sad.
Our bodies react. Ricardo hasn't been lifting. Ricardo hasn't lifted a weight. He's got a gut, okay, and he's got gray all over his face.
That's
okay,
really
Chris
sad.
works out.
Really sad.
I work out all the time. Our bodies are different. Stop comparing yourself to other people. What's really sad is how big your fucking nose is, but that's besides the point.
So Ice Cube, I want to say, Ice Cube, yeah, or maybe it's Ice T. Anyways, one of them said this resonated really well with me. Life is like the gym. You look to your right, you see somebody who's always bigger, faster, stronger, better looking. Whatever parameter, they're always gonna be better. But if you look to your left, there's always somebody who would kill to be where you are.
It's the right.
And
So right.
like I mean, I have been focusing so much on the guy to the right for so long that I totally missed that aspect. And man, mine fucking melted.
I love that quote, and every time I'm in line at the post office, I think about it, and I'm like, yes.
Yeah. The reason why this came up is we talked about the additives in foods, like chemicals, but the big thing is Ozempic, like this drug. So we have a society where we feed people to have a gluttony, to be obese. You have every option. It's not good for you. And then we solve our problem by using a medication. And my problem with this is
It's a trap.
It's a trap.
It's money.
It's money. So you can do a lot of this. You don't need drugs every step of the way. Now, obviously, there's drugs you need if you have serious issues or certain things. I'm not a doctor. But you can do things that help you on a daily basis, your energy levels. You can do things that help, like just walking around the block, getting sunlight is positive. Just going to the gym. You don't want to lift weights, but walking on a treadmill, get your body going, get your blood glowing, your circulation. All these small things help you in the long run. And don't start when you're later. I hope people, even if you start later and you try to take care of yourself, that's fine. But try to start young, because the reality of it is your body develops over years. And if your habits when you're younger are horrible, okay, it's going to be a lot harder to develop a healthy body at a later age. So make sure you take care of yourself. In society, stress and all this, number one, money comes and goes. Remember, your health, once it goes, none of those other things matter. You need your health. And you don't want to have a body that looks like Ricardo's.
Yeah, one of the things I thought was fascinating was I was in the UK for like 2 months working for the Air Force. And when they have new check-ins, because like, just so everybody's aware, in the UK, it rains like 300 days a year. So there's like no sunshine most of the time.
Fuck Seattle.
They actually recommend to all the new joins that come out to the UK that are going to be there for a while to go out and buy vitamin D supplements, because there's just no sun. It's like, that's actually like a part of the in-briefing for like people that live in the UK. This information exists. We just don't like to share it publicly for whatever reason. But vitamin D is huge. That's always one of the things I've noticed, you know, in my time working in super stressful environments, that I noticed a huge difference when, you know, I take a break from the drinking and eating like crap, and I get a good night's sleep and eat healthy. Like, oh my God, like I can tell immediately, like I can and as I'm trying to explain this, I can't do it. Recall for like words. Like my vocabulary expands significantly, because I can remember which words to use when I'm like having a conversation with somebody, because they just dissolve when I'm tired, or when I haven't had a good night's sleep or haven't eaten healthy. You can tell a huge difference, but you have to step away from a lot of that stuff to even experience the difference. Because if you have too much cortisol and, you know, you're kind of in the weeds, then body shaming record. I know, I saw that. I was laughing when she said that.
If anybody paid attention to last week, okay, this is nothing.
Share Bear, stop texting on the thing and driving at the same time. All right.
Shout out to our other homeboy here, Blue raised arm. I have no idea what that means.
I don't know.
I think it's because
that was
of
a
this.
long time ago.
I think it's because of my sweater. Yeah.
So abusive.
I will stop being so abusive to you, Ricardo. I hope you could forgive me someday, the same way you stopped making fun of me being Bill Burr and Tom Cruise.
No way, man. I mean, like, there's no way I would do that to you, dude. I mean, I don't
Never,
know where you
not
got
one
that.
bit.
Not even close, man. We're homies, you
know. Yeah, you son of a bitch. I knew you were gonna put it up. Chris, what were you saying?
I love that rant. Oh, no, I was just saying that, like, I noticed a massive difference once I stepped back, lowered my cortisol levels, got out of some stressful situations, and then started eating healthy and exercising regularly and getting good on sleep. Massive difference. Like, I could tell. immediately that I was doing the right thing. But vitamin D because I'm a vampire, yeah. But if you're stuck in a rut and you're highly stressed, and then you could get a good night's sleep and it won't matter. Like you
Yeah.
won't be able to tell the difference, right? I mean,
Yeah.
you could eat healthy and it won't. I mean, it will help, but like the drastic change that you'll see just won't. It'll be much harder to recognize.
Yeah.
And then once you start doing it regularly, then once you like go to the gym, you have a healthy breakfast, get a healthy workout in the morning, the cold plunge or sauna or whatever it is, and then you like sit down at your desk, you're like, oh my God, like, why do I not do this every day?
Yeah, I think the two best things of after like working out, either cold plunge or sitting in the sauna.
Cold
those
plunge,
two,
man. Either one of those.
those two are so
fantastic.
great. It feels amazing. Like it really does. Like the feeling after that, your body's like so relaxed. It
And
feels
sex,
great.
sex, of course.
Okay, three guys on a podcast. Please don't bring that up while we're talking about saunas and cold plunges.
Yes.
Yeah.
He
Ever
was
had
in the
sex in a cold
military.
plunge?
He was in the
Yeah, I haven't done
military.
that. I haven't done that. That's not something.
Wait,
That's
when
on
do you
the-
get
it's
your
on the
cold
bump.
plunge, Elvis? When do you get your cold plunge?
It's supposed to
2026.
It's supposed to enter. Yeah, exactly. It's supposed to enter LA's port January 15th. So
January
see.
15th.
Yeah,
Where's it coming from?
Australia.
Oh wow.
For no reason
crazy.
whatsoever. For no reason.
Yeah, you could have bought 1,000,000 cold
whatsoever.
plunges in the U.S., but for some reason you were like, "Hey, let me get a cold plunge from Australia."
Well, the other one I wanted, it advertised that it had like a 20-week waiting period, and so I tried to go one which wasn't advertising a long waiting period, and that's where I fucked up.
What made
so-
these cold plunges so special that you were like, "All right, I'm going to Australia"?
I actually didn't know it was made in Australia until after.
What breaks down? So why would you choose this cold plunge compared to
Because
another
he
one?
saw
when you
it.
were
Oh,
looking
he
up
was
cold
taking a
plunge?
shit like on Instagram and didn't realize it was from an Australian company.
Oh, he
No,
was
I
one of
looked
those
around.
people.
I looked around for like months about which ones that were had the best reviews and which ones were doing well, and can't get a cold plunge from fucking Costco. Oh, Ken, yeah. I know, man. I know. Okay. Anyways, I thought it was a good idea at the time, and I can't wait for it to get here. But live and
Yeah,
learn.
no, you got it. You'll do well. I have a can't get a cold plunge from fucking
Hey guys,
Costco, dog.
while I have y'all here,
That's what happens when you text and try to drive at the same time.
just want to remind all of you to take a look at shopping here at the Almost Patriots merch store. Get some Elvis t-shirts, get your Almost Patriots fuzzy hats, warm hats, regular hats, hoodies, zip up hoodies. Support the podcast. Great place to get some warm gear while you're doing it. Well, we got everybody here. Speaking of Costco. Yeah.
And we update it. We're gonna start updating the merch store with some more designs. We're gonna, take a photo of my face and put it on a shirt, and
We can
ask
do that.
if
I'm going to do a screenshot right now, actually,
No.
of your face.
no, stop! Don't you do it.
No, I
Yeah.
would never do that. That's
No, you wouldn't. I know you too well.
Totally immature.
He definitely just did it 2 seconds
I
ago because I
totally
saw
just
his
did it.
cat. I saw your wall light up, dude. Saw your wall light up. He's definitely gonna put my face on a shirt, and he's gonna. What? I have an idea what you can do. I know you too well.
I mean, what
But yeah.
anyway.
All
Go
right.
ahead.
No. I'm saying we got through over topics. We wish everybody to go to the merch store, help us out. Get yourself
All
some
good, yeah.
Almost Patriots podcasts.
Tune in next week. I think is it the day after Christmas or Christmas Day? When is it?
Next week is the day after Christmas. Christmas is Wednesday.
Okay. Christmas Day is Wednesday. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
All right.
Nope.
That should be fun. All right, guys, take care. Remember to subscribe and follow us on Instagram at Almost Patriots Podcast. Like us on our new X channel profile as well. Check out the merch store, and then subscribe to us on YouTube, and check out our shorts, and check us out here every week, 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern for Almost Patriots podcast. Thanks, guys.
Have a good one.
Still alive.
Still alive.
Still alive. It's okay.
Still alive.
Still alive.
Still alive. Ricardo, we're still alive.
Still alive.